Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2026, and welcome to our first episode of the year. I'm Sarah, and together with my co host Gordon, we continue to bring you insights on corporate governance and sustainability.
Hi, Sarah. Yes, let's make it a great start to the year. For those joining us for the first time, this podcast is brought to you by the Center for Governance and Sustainability at the National University of Singapore Business School. This series, first launched in 2025, is based on CGS's 15th anniversary ebook, 15 Lessons in Corporate Sustainability and Governance.
Let's start. So, Gordon, you know that 1.5 degree figure we keep hearing about? It's almost become the catchphrase of every climate conference, but sometimes it feels like no one really breaks it down. What's so special about 1.5 degrees Celsius, and how do we even measure it?
Absolutely, Sarah. The 1.5 degrees Celsius limit is basically the line scientists say we shouldn't cross if we want to avoid the most disastrous impacts of climate change. It's not just a number, it's a target to keep our planet livable. If we overshoot it, we're talking more extreme weather, rising sea levels, and changes we can already feel, like unpredictable temperatures. I bet most of our listeners have noticed something off with the weather lately.
Definitely. Even here in Southeast Asia, the ASEAN region, these changes are far from theoretical. We're seeing floods, droughts, urban heat waves, and losing plant and animal life. It's a real challenge. But from a business perspective, it's also a wake-up call. The opportunity to act is now, and the urgency can't be overstated.
Climate risks have started sneaking into boardroom conversations. You can't really talk strategy these days without at least mentioning climate or environmental impact. It's not just about being green anymore. It's about survival, competitiveness, and future-proofing your company.
What's really puzzling, though, is that despite all these risks, ASEAN's efforts at mitigating climate change aren't keeping pace. We're facing huge challenges, but the response just hasn't matched up. Are businesses in the region really prepared for the long-term fallout?
Well, the answer isn't so clear-cut. There's a report from the NUS Center for Governance and Sustainability. Their 2022 study shows that while some companies are making progress, there are still big gaps. Many are only just starting to address climate risks, and there's a lot of work to be done.
That's the thing. Ignoring these risks might save money today, but it's going to cost a lot more tomorrow. And it's not just a hit to the planet, but to the businesses themselves. You can't afford to be short-sighted.
And even though more companies are interested in climate disclosures, a lot are still figuring out how to do it properly. There's progress, sure, but the quality of reporting really varies across ASEAN. Some countries are ahead, others lag behind.
For example, in the 2022 study, Thailand is leading with a 57% climate disclosure rate, followed closely by Singapore and Malaysia at 48%. That's thanks to stronger regulations and more engaged stakeholders. But overall, the 6 ASEAN countries studied averages just 46%, so there's plenty of room for improvement.
And companies here are pretty decent at reporting on materiality, targets, and identifying risks and opportunities, but where they struggle is showing how those risks actually threaten their business for the long run.
Exactly. Too many treat climate risks as a side issue, when really it should be at the heart of their strategy. If you only keep it on the sidelines, you risk being blindsided.
What's more troubling is that many boards don't yet have the expertise to really grapple with climate risks. The study says that having a clear climate strategy is crucial. If boards aren't on board, pun intended, the company misses a key chance to get ready for future disruptions.
The financial impact is growing too. Extreme weather, new regulations, they're affecting assets and company valuations more than ever.
Take a company that hasn't planned for rising sea levels. If its coastal facilities flood, operations halt. Or think about industries that depend on natural resources. If those become scarce, cost and risk go up. And don't forget transition risks like carbon taxes, which can eat into profits for heavy emitters.
All those risks, if companies don't manage them, could really shake up their cash flows and even their market value.
And it's not just money at stake. If your company isn't seen as future-ready or climate-conscious, your reputation could take a hit. These days, everyone from investors to employees wants to know if you're transitioning to a low carbon economy.
That's right. Companies dragging their feet risk brand damage, supply chain problems, regulatory fines, and ultimately they'll be left behind. It's a competitive disadvantage, plain and simple.
But let's end on a positive note. The risks are real, but there's also a world of opportunity out there. Businesses leading the way with green innovation and renewable energy can thrive as we move towards decarbonization.
ASEAN companies willing to adapt and integrate climate risks into their models are in a great position. The region's focus on sustainability is growing, and early movers will find plenty of advantages.
And the best part? There's still time to make those changes. Update your governance, improve your business practices, and get ahead of the curve.
So the real question isn't whether climate risk is important, but whether you are ready to tackle it head on.
You've heard this before, but if you act early, you won't just survive, you'll thrive, no matter how the climate changes.
That's all for today's episode of Inwards Insights on Governance and Sustainability. Thanks for tuning in, and stay sustainable, everyone.